family. All that noise I got going on in the background, I'm laughing at myself. Anyway, I know the camera not on, so be a little patient. Trying to get my life together. But hope you had a fantastic week. Happy pre-Friday. I hope you had a great weekend planned. So excited to be back with you all. Actually, looking forward to doing a little more reading of this book. Buddy Lee. Outside, I can't bust him. Man, what was that? I know. You know, it's crazy. I just seen a post from my best friend on my backup page. And that thing never shows up on my oh god. What is this? I don't know. Anyway, I know I'm doing a lot of talking. Exactly. Again, I'm glad to be back with y'all this week. Looking forward to doing some more reading. That book has been off the hinges. I resonate tremendously with oh no, I just did that. Boop 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 boop. Alright, hold on. Alright, here we go. I get my life right. We're on side cam. Boop boop boop. Alright, family. Like I was saying, glad to be back with you. Still doing some last minute stuff, trying to get my life together. But it be like that sometimes. I don't think I can do all this reading with some dry lips. Which ain't too bad because I drink a lot of water. A ton of water. Really. No, I'm about to say something ignorant. So I keep it to myself. I drink a lot of water. Lord have mercy. Alright, well, welcome to Soul Family Live. Soul Swami Live. This is your first time here. This is Thursday Night Book Club. On Soul Swami channel, we discuss all things healing in various formats. As a matter of fact, on Tuesday, we are drawing the direct connection from our generational curses to our generational blessings so we can stop focusing on the downside. Start focusing on the responsibilities and burdens of our blessings and see what the blessing is. And this is Book Club, which is a spinoff of our Tuesday night show in an effort to allow us to reconnect with that child in us. On Tuesday nights, make sure you hit that link that's in the description and you can join and get an energy reading or just enjoy, say some comments, say some things on Book Club to let me know you're there. We get some shout out, participate, do your thing. At the beginning of every show, we generally do some energy work. If you were here Tuesday, you know this, but if not, we are on our third eye, which is in our forehead. Your third eye is good for your intuition, your vision. You have a problem with your vision. You ain't trusting your intuition, perception, and astral projection. The element for your third eye is light. So we do a little light therapy too. If you pay attention, generally every energy point or chakra that we discussed is correlated to a color light. So the color for your third eye is indigo. If you are into aromatherapy, you want to think rosemary, cedarwood, clary, sage, patchouli is pretty good. If you are into crystals and gemstones, then you want to think labradorite, amethyst, which I always say this all the time. I got amethyst all over this mofo. Purple fluorite and sodalite is very, very good for igniting your third eye. So after we do that, we generally do some sound therapy. We do some breath work. And then we do some visualizations. So while I'm doing the sound, if you think about a breath exercise that you would like to do, go ahead and put it in the chat. Let's see what's cracking. Let me see. There we go. Maybe I can see some YouTube chats now. Yeah. So if you got an idea for what you like to do with the breath exercise, we generally do 369, 444, 478. Tuesday we did the sun moon cleansing, but I don't feel like doing that today. So while you do it, just put something in the chat what you think would be a good breath exercise for us today. I'm mad I can't find my tuner, and I ain't that good at ear tuning, so but I want the ukulele today. For our breathing exercise, I think I want to do box breathing. So that is 4-4-4. But all you have to do is just focus on your breathing, clearing your thoughts and energy, replacing it with positive thoughts and positive energy. And I'll keep the count for you. On the count of 3, we will start. 1, 2, 3. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 4, 2, 3, 4. Hold 4, 2, 3, 4. Release 4, 2, 3, 4. And as you are there, calming your spirit through breathing exercises, I want you to repeat these affirmations after me. I trust my intuition. My imagination is powerful. I think clearly. And my third eye sees all. I trust my intuition. My imagination is powerful. I think clearly. And my third eye sees all. All right, so I think where we are in the story now, I think the two fathers have decided that they're gonna find out who unalived their sons, and their first stop was to go to the newspaper that I don't know if both of their sons worked there. I ain't that sure. One of their sons worked there, but anyway, I think both of them worked there. But the funny thing that I'm laughing at to myself is the name of the paper is the Rainbow something. The Rainbow. Oh my God. Do you remember what it is, family? Rainbow Periodical, Rainbow something. And Buddy Lee was like, yeah, that gotta be it. That sounds pretty gay. Which is interesting. Twitch, show some love. Don't just be out there. Say hello in the comments so I can give you some love, family. Is that you, Liberty? I hope you ain't just stalking. You feel me? All right, Twitch, I love y'all the most anyway. I ain't even gonna hate. All right, so we are on chapter 9. Do do do. I guess my stick won't be part of the party. Ike started up the truck and backed out of his parking space. Buddy Lee studied the scrap of paper in his hand. You think that girl is all the way gay? Buddy Lee asked. How the fuck am I supposed to know? Ike said. Hey, I'm just wondering, Buddy Lee said. Ike slammed on the brakes. We are out here trying to find out who killed our children, and you flirting with a lesbian? Are you taking this seriously? Are you really? Ike said. Did you forget I'm the one that came to you? You think I ain't taking it seriously? I ain't you, Ike. I don't have nobody waiting for me back in my fancy 2 bedroom trailer. Derek's mom left me a long time ago, and there ain't been nobody serious in my bed since. Just some good time girls here and there. She turned her back on me and Derek and married some big shot judge. So excuse me if I ain't a fucking monk. But don't you ever ask me if I'm serious about this again. I mean that, Buddy Lee said. By the time you gotta check his ass too, cause he's gonna try to keep punking you on some weird shit. Fine, Ike said, for putting the truck in gear. The headquarters of the Blue Anarchists of the RVA was located in a brand new strip mall on Staples Mill Road. Ike parked the truck and shut it off. I think Amelia was right, Buddy Lee said. I'm sure she could tell you pissed honey and lemonade, and you believe that too, Ike said as they got out the truck. A sign above the shop said time and time, Time and Thyme, time and time. This is why the English language is a terrible language to learn. Time and time, unique gifts. The place smelled like incense and peppermint, and something like, I couldn't put his finger on exactly, a mixture of hair grease and roses. The walls were covered with posters of bands and cartoon characters he didn't recognize. Excuse me, there were shelves and shelves of bongs, pipes, and cannabis accessories. The shop also had a few shelves of dedicated to comic book miniatures and collectibles. A raspy voice filled through the store's sound system, sang about lost love and winding sheet and dark skies. 3 narrow-looking white kids sat behind a glass display case that served as the sales counter. A bearded guy, a clean-shaven guy who was sporting a monocle, and a girl who looked like she just stopped wearing light-up shoes a week ago. Can I help you? She asked. I hope so. I wanted to talk to somebody from the Blue Anarchists, Ike said. The 3 kids exchanged figurative glances. Finally, the bearded kid stood up from his stool. We are all Blue Anarchists. I'm Bryce. This is Terry, and this is Madison. We aren't the only members, by the way. Our numbers are growing every day as more people wake up from the coma of forced patriotism and empirical subjugation, Bryce said. Buddy Lee thought he looked awfully proud of himself. You've been practicing that for a while, ain't you? Buddy Lee said. It's our manifesto, Bryce said. I'm not here for your manifesto. I want to ask you about Isaiah Randolph and Derek Jenkins, Ike said. He had his arms crossed over his chest. Who? Terry, the one with the monocle, asked. Ike stepped forward. Bryce sat back down on his stool. Isaiah Randolph. You sent him a death threat last year for a report on your pep club, Ike said. Bryce stood back up defiantly. Oh, you mean the guy who tried to ruin our reputation? It wasn't a death threat. It was a redress of grievances for his vitriolic comments, Bryce said. Jesus, you got any change for them $10 words, Buddy Lee asked? Oh my God. He's dead. He was my son, and he's dead. And I want to know whether or not you little punk ass crew had anything to do with it, Ike said. A chime went off and a couple walked in the store. They must have felt something in the air because they turned around and walked out. Look, I'm very sorry your son is dead, but we ain't have anything to do with that. But I'm not surprised. He was just a tool of the corporate industrial complex. People are waking up, man. They aren't going to stand by and let the media lapdogs create false narratives of what is going on in the world. Get woke, man, Bryce said. I cocked his head to the left. Buddy Lee watched his hands clench and unclench like bear traps opening and closing. What did you say about my son? Ike asked. Bryce ran his tongue over his upper lip. I'm just saying. Ike's arm shot out quick like a cobra. He grabbed Bryce by his beard and in one brutal movement yanked his head down until his forehead slammed against the glass counter. Ike grabbed Bryce's arm, right hand with his left, and twisted his right arm until it felt like it might snap. Terry jumped off his stool, but Buddy Lee pulled out his jackknife and flicked the blade open. Slow your roll, Panama Jack. I know that's right. Don't get cut. He said as he pointed the knife at Cherry's chest. Ike bent forward until his mouth was inches from Bryce's ear. I'm going to ask you some questions about what you know about my son. Every time I don't like the answer, I'm going to break one of your fingers, he said. Madison began to cry. Hush, baby girl. We ain't going to hurt you. We're just going to ask some questions, Buddy Lee said as he flashed the girl a smile. She cried harder. I know that's right. Now, did you have anything to do with what happened to our boys? Ike said. Oh my God, I'm bleeding, Bryce mumbled against the top of the display desk. I don't like that answer, Ike said. He grabbed Bryce's pinky with his left hand, holding the younger man down with his right. He pulled on the pinky with a brutal backward motion, a wet snap. Madison slipped from her stool and quietly vomited on the floor. Let's try this again. Do you know who killed my boy? Ike asked. He didn't recognize his voice. He realized Ike Randolph was taking a back seat to the action. This was Riot speaking. Jesus fuck no, we just wrote him a nasty letter, Bryce cried. Buddy Lee heard the pitter-patter of water hitting the lamented floor. Ike, I think he's telling the truth. He just pissed himself, Buddy Lee. You know how many suspect motherfuckers I've seen piss themselves when they got caught? Ike said. Yeah, but man, look at him. He couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. He couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight, Buddy Lee said. Ike didn't like what Buddy Lee suggested. Blood had pooled around Bryce's forehead. It was also spilling across the countertop on the floor. I could see one of his eyes. It rolled around in the socket like a ball bearing. Ike wanted to let him go, but Riot wanted to break a few more of his fingers on general principles. Amelia was right. These kids weren't killers. They were just a bunch of overly idealistic children. Somewhere, a mother or father was mildly disappointed in them. Ike took a deep breath and let it out through his teeth. He pushed Bryce back off the top of the display case. The young man fell into his stool before sliding to the floor, clutching his right arm. Madison went to his side. Okay, tell me how you feel. Oh, man. Her mouth was stained orange and red with vomit. Ike took a step back from the counter. If I find out you lying, I'm coming back and breaking the rest of your fingers, Ike said. He turned his back on them and walked out. Y'all should probably keep this to yourself, I'm just saying. Might be healthier that way, Buddy Lee said. He folded the jackknife and put it back in his pocket. Ike had the truck running when he hopped in. He had barely closed the passenger door before Ike was mashing the gas pedal to the floor and backing out of the strip mall's parking lot. He executed a three-point turn and crossed the grass covering the median. Once they were a few miles from time and time, Buddy Lee let out a whoop. What the hell's that for? Ike said. Shit, man. It feels good to be doing something. We not just sitting in the dark crying anymore. We doing something for our boys. For a minute, I didn't feel like a piece of shit father, Buddy Lee said. We ain't find anything. It was a waste of time, Ike said. Maybe. But it felt good slapping those punk asses around, didn't it? Shit, we did what their parents should have done a long time ago. Blue fucking Arcanist. What the hell is that? Buddy Lee said. You enjoyed that, didn't you? Ike said. You didn't? Buddy Lee said. Ike didn't answer. He damn sure did. And I can tell you that. He enjoyed it just as much as Buddy Lee. Chapter 10. I think that's it over there, Buddy Lee said. Ike pulled the truck up to the sidewalk and parallel parked it with surprising ease. You know how to wheel this thing, don't you? Buddy Lee asked. Part of the job, Ike said. They got out of the truck and started walking down the sidewalk. a few feet until they stopped in front of a building with a flashing LED sign on the door. The sign said, Essential Events Bakery. You sure this is a place? Ike asked. Yeah, fairly sure. The last time I talked to Derek, he mentioned he was up for a promotion at his job. I asked him where he worked. He didn't want to tell me at first. I guess he thought I'd come down here and embarrass him. I asked him to make me a titty cake or something. And he would. He definitely would come down there. A titty cake, Ike said. Told you, it's been a few lonely years, Buddy Lee said. Ike felt a smile trying to crawl across his face, but he pushed it away. That was funny. You come down there and ask your son to make you a titty cake. That's hilarious. Hey, before we go in, I guess I should say thanks for having my back earlier, Ike said. Buddy Lee shrugged. I know you don't particularly like me, and to be honest, you're kind of an asshole. But we in it to win it now, Buddy Lee said. Yeah, I guess so. He is. Ike is an asshole. You think they know anything about what happened? Ike asked. Fuck if I know. But where else we gonna go? Buddy Lee responded. Essential Events Bakery was housed in the cavernous building with high ceilings and multiple skylights tinted a light green. It gave the interior a vibrant verdant hue. Ike could taste sugar in the air and smell bread baking. His mouth began to water like a Pavlovian dog. Several tables were set up throughout the building with a multitude of displays. 6-tier wedding cakes, flower-shaped loaves of bread, cupcake towers, skewers of beef and chicken arranged in interlocking levels like a puzzle. There was a cornucopia of Epicurean designs and delights. Buddy Lee walked up to one of the cakes, extended his fingers. It's covered in polyurethane, a young man said. He was standing behind a counter with a cash register and more examples of artistry Essential Events was capable of creating. Behind him, a blackboard listed the daily specials in bright red chalk. Damn, that icing looked good, Buddy Lee said. The young man smiled. He had a wide grin with huge teeth that were as white as his pale skin. His light blonde hair was tied up in a short bun on top of his head like a sumo wrestler's top knot. It is, but these are just for display. See anything you like? The young man asked. Buddy Lee walked over to the counter. He smiled back at the man. Well, to be honest, we're not here to buy any cakes. I'm Buddy Lee Jenkins, Buddy Lee said as he held out his hand. I'm Brandon Painter, Brandon said as he shook Buddy Lee's hand. Buddy Lee had felt a firmer grip from his grandmother on her deathbed. Buddy Lee got jokes. Nice to meet you, Brandon. That big old bear back there is Ike Randolph. Are you guys looking for a cake for a special occasion? Are we celebrating an anniversary? Brandon said with a smile. Buddy Lee frowned. Say what? He asked. Brandon smiled again. Hey, it's all good, man. We ain't like that bake in Colorado. We'll make a cake or set out a spread for anyone. You two make a nice couple, Brandon said. Buddy Lee glanced back over his shoulder at Ike. Ike glowered at Buddy Lee. Nah, son, you got it mixed up. We ain't like that. My son was Derek Jenkins. He was with Ike's son, Isaiah, Buddy Lee said. Oh my God, you're Derek's dad? I don't know why I didn't put it together. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We miss him so much, Brandon said. His voice cracked as he spoke. Yeah, so do I. Hey, so we're kind of looking into what happened. The cops seem to think things have gone cold. You know how it is, right? They couldn't find that ass with a flashlight in 2 hands. Did Derek say anything to you about anybody threatening him? Maybe some disgruntled customer or something? Buddy Lee asked. Nah, man. He never said anything to me, Brandon said. How about something personal? Did he say he had beef with anybody? Maybe another caterer? No way. This ain't like the mafia. No one kills anyone because they can make a better buttercream frosting. Well, did he say anything strange in the weeks before it happened? Brandon shook his head. I don't really know anything. Yeah, you know, the cops told us Derek and Isaiah's friends weren't talking. I didn't believe it. But here you are, lying to my face, Buddy Lee said. Ike heard the edge in his voice like steel striking steel. What? I'm not lying. I don't know anything, Brandon said. His hands flopped around the counter like drying out trout. Yeah, you do. You know what the you know what the tell is, Brandon? A tell? It's something you do that tells me you're lying. Everybody got one, and everybody is different. Now yours is just a little thing. You want to know what it is? Buddy Lee asked. He walked closer to the counter and grabbed Brandon's convulsing hands. I've asked 3 times about Derek and what you know, and all 3 times you tug at your earlobe before you answer. That's a tell, Brandon. It tells me you know something and you're lying about it. Now, if you really miss Derek and you really was his friend, you'll tell me what you know. Buddy Lee said. I noticed the edge had gone out of his tone. Now he sounded comforting, like a priest or a good cop getting a confession. I told you I don't know anything, Brandon said. He snatched his hand away from Buddy Lee. I think y'all should go. I got a lot to do, and the boss will be here soon. Buddy Lee stepped back from the counter. He turned, brushed past Ike, and went to one of the display tables. You guys need to go, Brandon said. His hands started dancing again. Buddy Lee stared back at Brandon. Using one hand, he tipped the display table over. The 6-tier model cake splattered across the floor, and chunks of chemically treated confection looked like huge pieces of candle wax. What the hell are you doing? Brandon wailed. You know something, Brandon. Tell me, Buddy Lee said. Brandon came from behind the counter. Ike stepped between him and Buddy Lee. He put his hand on the young man's chest and stopped his forward momentum cold. I could feel his heart fluttering in his chest like wings of a hummingbird. Buddy Lee walked over to another table of displays. Using both hands this time, he flipped the table over. 6 different styles of cupcakes spilled across the floor as the table clattered and the legs folded in on themselves. Jesus, stop, Brandon howled. Buddy Lee came striding over to him and grabbed him by the front of his t-shirt. Buddy stepped back out of the way. Ike stepped back out of the way. You want me to start on you? You're going to look worse than them cakes if you don't tell me what you know. Just tell me what you know, Brandon. Help me. Help me make this fucking thing right, Buddy Lee said. I'm scared, Brandon said. He dropped his head until his chin was nearly touching Buddy Lee's hands. Buddy Lee let go of his shirt and put both hands on his shoulders. I know you are. I know. But what you tell me ain't going nowhere. Brandon mumbled something into his chest. What? Buddy Lee asked. I said Derek met a girl. Some girl at an event we did for some guy who had a recording studio. He told me the girl was seeing some guy who was a big deal. The guy was married and the girl wanted to tell the world what was going on. Derek was really upset about it. She said the guy was some major league hypocrite and asshole. She said he was going to get Isaiah to publish her story. A couple of weeks later, he was dead, Brandon said. Ike felt like he'd been punching in the gut with a sledgehammer. Who was the girl? Buddy Lee asked. Brandon shrugged. I don't know. He didn't say her name. He just said she was at the party and they started talking. Which party? Who threw it? Ike asked. Brandon raised his head and looked at Ike with eyes as wide as startled deer. I don't know. I just run the counter. I don't go out on jobs. And Derek didn't say who. He just said that what the guy did. That's all I know, I swear. When the cops came around, I was too scared to say anything. Brandon said, his voice dropped to barely a whisper. Buddy Lee clapped him on his face a few times. Okay, that's good, Brandon. That's real good, Buddy Lee said. He gestured toward the door with his head. Ike started to walk out. Brandon, if anybody asks, some kids came in and tore up the shop and left. You got me? Buddy Lee said. Yeah, sure, Brandon said. Ike merged back into traffic and headed for the interstate. The afternoon traffic was slow and steady. The light from the setting sun bounced off the parked cars that lined the sidewalk. That was pretty slick back there with that tail thing. I never had a name for it. I know how to read a room. I can tell when somebody about to go off. You notice how they standing or where they put their hands, shit like that. Was you on the griff back in the day? Ike asked. I did a little bit of everything. My old man was on the griff. My uncles were outlaws. Only my mama tried to walk the straight and narrow. She was Jesus all day. I think what I learned from my daddy done come in handy more times than what my mama taught me, Buddy said. It's almost 6. What you think we to do? How we gonna find this girl? Ike asked. Buddy Lee scratched his chin. I was thinking about that as soon as he said it. What do you think about going by the boy's house? Take a look around. We might be able to find out who this guy was that owned the music studio, Buddy Lee said. Might find out who this girl was, too. All right, I got Isaiah's keys. Did they give you Derek's stuff at the funeral home? Ike said. Buddy Lee bit at one of his fingernails. He didn't speak until he had hit the on-ramp. They tried to. I was in a bad place at the wake. I didn't want it. I didn't know. I guess I was kind of mad at Derek because he was dead. And if I didn't take his stuff, then it wasn't real. I was pretty drunk that day too, Buddy Lee said. Ike let out a breath whistle through his lips. Yeah, I know what you mean. It was like, what? Hmm. It was like mannequins. I think I killed a whole bottle of rum that night. Oh, Facebook do be tripping. Hey, there's only room on this team for one alcoholic, Buddy Lee said. Ike's cell phone vibrated in his pocket. He pulled it out and checked the screen. It was Maya. Hey, where you at? I called the shop and they said you weren't coming in today. Just had a few things to take care of. What's up? I just left the cemetery. They said Isaiah's headstone got damaged. Did they call you? Ike checked his mirror and changed lanes. Yeah, I was going to tell you when I got to the house. The guy said they was going to replace it. Jesus, what the fuck are they going, what are they doing up there, Maya asked. It was an accident. They going to feel it. Ariana got down on her knees at the grave today. I asked her what she was doing. She said she was saying hi to her daddies. Maya said. Ike didn't say anything. He could feel the silence between them slowly strangling him. I nearly lost it, Ike. I want to lay on top of that grave and stay there all day, Maya said. It hurts, Ike said. And it's never going to get any better, is it, Maya asked. I don't know, Ike said. Maya's breathing got heavy. Her weeping began to fill his ears. I guess I'll see you when I get home, she said between sobs. The line went dead. Everything all right, Buddy Lee asked. No, Ike said as he put the phone back in his pocket. Chapter 11. Oh, there you go, Liberty. Hey, I just now see your comment. I appreciate your. Me and the rain stick appreciate you. Okay. Hello. You hear me? Grayson pulled up to the clubhouse in a cloud of dust. The ride from the south side to the sandstone had been miserable. It felt like he'd been stuck in the armpit of a goddamn orangutan. He climbed off the bike and strapped his helmet to his handlebars. The clubhouse was an old 2-story farmhouse with a wraparound porch. Tommy Big Boss Harris, the club president before Grayson, who was now serving 20 to life, had built an enormous 3-car garage behind the clubhouse for brothers to work on their bikes, break in fresh tail, and handle club business. A row of bikes parked off to the left of the main building, muscular examples of American steel and ingenuity, iron horses for the new outlaws. 2 brothers were hanging out on the front porch. Dome, the vice president, was leaning against one of the columns that supported the roof of the porch. Gremlin, the club mechanic, and Sergeant at Arms was lounging in the leather recliner that was parked in the corner of the porch. The beat of the southern rock song exploded out of the open front door. The smell of weed followed it, accompanied by a woman's high laugh. When they saw Grayson approaching, Dome straightened up and Gremlin rose out of his seat. "Hey, Grayson." "What's up, brother?" Gremlin said. "Them jigs been down yet?" Grayson asked. Dome and Gremlin exchanged furtive glances. "Yeah, they came down. They didn't want to buy the Mac 10s, though," Dome said. "Why the fuck not?" Grayson asked. Dome shifted his weight from one foot to the other. "They said their boss guy said they were too hot. Couldn't move them. Said you and the boss was going to talk about it." "And y'all just let him walk away like that?" Grayson asked. Dome licked his lips. I mean, he paid us for the rest of the stuff. Took all the handguns," Gremlin chimed in. Grayson put his left foot in the bottom step of the front porch. He motioned for Dome to bend forward. The taller man hesitated, then did as he was asked. Grayson grabbed the hoop dangling from Dome's right ear and twisted it until the old lobe looked like a piece of braided rope. Dome squealed as Grayson whispered in his ear, "Don't you ever, as long as you got breath in your lungs, ever let somebody short us on the deal. They ask for Mac 10s, they take the Mac 10s. This ain't a motherfucking Burger King. You got people out here thinking we some soft-ass punks. What does that patch on your back say?" Grayson asked. "Rare breed," Dome howled. "You think we punks? You think we some gangbangers on the corner moving shit out the back of a broke-down Impala?" Grayson gave the hoop another quarter turn. "No," Dome screamed. "Don't you ever let anybody walk away from here with some of our money. You're supposed to be the fucking vice president. You better start acting like it," Grayson said. Okay, Dome wheezed. "Find another customer for the Mac 10s. Grayson let go of Dome's ear. "Tell Andy and Oscar I want to talk to them at the table," Grayson said. He headed for the garage. Dome rubbed his ears. His fingers came away red. "You need some alcohol or something?" Gremlin asked. "Just go get the fucking prospects," Dome said. Grayson was sitting at the head of the table when the prospects came shuffling in. A string of sickly yellow lights cast weak shadows throughout the garage and across the table. The club's emblem, a wolf's head covered in iron plating, was painted in the center of the table where the club voted on official business. Andy and Oscar stooped at the foot of the table. Grayson didn't ask them to sit. "You both want your patches, don't you?" Grayson asked. The two men nodded. Oscar nodded so hard his hair fell into his face. Andy was tall and lean like a sapling. Oscar was wide as a walking refrigerator. Grayson thought they resembled the number 10. They both wore denim cuts with the chapter location on their bottom. "I'm looking for a girl that calls herself Tangerine. Been trying. They all looking for the same girl. I'm looking for a girl to call herself Tangerine. Been trying to find her for a few months. There was this punk ass reporter who was talking to her until he got himself killed. I need y'all to go over to his place. You'll probably have to bust in, look around to see if you can find anything about Tangerine. If you do find something, I'll speed up your patching you in." "We gotta break in the place?" Oscar asked. "Did I fucking stutter? Did you not just hear me say you gonna have to break in the place? What the fuck is wrong with you?" Grayson said. He punctuated each sentence by slamming his fist on the table. "Don't worry, we got it. We ain't gonna let you down," Andy said. "You better not," Grayson said. He stood and extended his fist. Andy and Oscar extended theirs. The three men bumped knuckles. "We make them bleed for the breed," Andy said. "We make them bleed for the breed," Oscar said. "Damn right you do," Grayson said. Hey, listen. Yeah, that is always one of my ways to calm my nerves. And then today I hurt my back a little bit working out, pulled a muscle in it, so it's been acting crazy. It's getting better now, so I probably soaking some Epsom salt, but you ain't supposed to be talking about me rubbing my feet. I forget that. It'd be perfect. Excuse me, it'd be perfectly on camera. So forgive me. All right. Come on, Twitch. Come on through. We need one more so we can start getting these points up. Show me some love so I can show you some love. Chapter 12. Ike parallel parked his truck between a bright pink scooter and a car that was so small he could probably pick it up with one hand. A street lamp with a busted bulb towered over them. This is my first time here, Buddy Lee said. I came here once for the housewarming, right after it happened. Maya was talking about us coming over and cleaning the place up. 2 months later, all we did was talk, Ike said. The housewarming? Another night that ended in yelling and slamming doors. He opened his door and Buddy Lee soon followed. Civilly engineered oak trees dotted the sidewalk at 20 feet intervals. They chased the street lamps down the sidewalk. Bike racks popped up every few feet like iron hedges. Ike and Buddy Lee walked side by side as they headed to the townhouse. Things up here done changed a lot, Ike said. Oh yeah, Buddy Lee said. Back in the day, there used to be this old boy who ran a lot of product through this part of town. I used to run with the crew back home who bought from him. When we used to ride through here to re-up, every other building was a crack house. Baseheads wandering up and down the streets like zombies, offering to have their girls suck you for $10 rock. If times got really tight, they'd offer to do it themselves. I come through one time doing a favor for that old boy, sprayed this whole street up with an AK, then carried my ass back to Red Hill. That's crazy. Hey, that's how you know I'm relaxing. These feet start rubbing. That's why one of the best feelings is the end of the day when I take my socks off and rub my feet. I rub them against the sheets too. So I found that I got a tendency to do that too. Child, if I'm sleeping next to a lady, I rub my feet on her. But they be doing that to me all the time. They be doing that in their dreams. I don't know. People think I got soft skin. So I done had girlfriends run on my legs while they was asleep. It's weird. Yeah, it's funny. It will. And then like I dead serious. Let me tell you, I hurt my back. It was something so cheesy too. All I was doing is moving the weight to set up to do some deadlifts. I was finna start just lifting the weight up, and all I did, and it wasn't a lot of weight, and that thing hurt my back. Like, good God Almighty, I should be ashamed of myself. Who was you after, Buddy Lee asked. I don't even remember. I think somebody was trying to push up on him. Or maybe they stepped on his homeboy's shoes over at the satellite bar and he had me come through to correct him. I don't know. I did a lot of dumb shit back then for street cred. When I went inside, I learned the hard way. Street cred don't mean shit, Ike said. I think I could give you a run for your money in that dumb shit department. My last time around the mulberry bush, I took a fall that wasn't mine to take, Buddy Lee said. For real? Ike asked. Yeah, my half brother Deke and me got my half brother Deke and me got picked up with a trunk full of ice. We was moving it for a fella named Chuli Peter Pettigrew. Deke didn't have a record. Mine was long enough to wrap up as a mummy. I wanted Deke to stay clean. He wasn't built for that kind of life. They would have eaten him alive inside. I did my best to make sure it was his first and last run. So I kept my mouth shut about Chuli, took the blame for Deke, and got 3 to 5 years. Did the full 5. After I went away, Deke went out west, got a job on a natural gas crew. Far as I know, he's still there. Huh? Ike said. What? You had a trunk full of meth, and you only got 5 years? If you had looked like me, they would have put you under the jail for moving that much weight. I got friends who got 3 to 5 for holding weed. Weed, Ike said. I don't know about that, Buddy Lee said. Buddy Lee mumbled. I do. This is the place, Ike said. He'd stop in front of the two-story townhouse with slapboard siding stained a deep burgundy. The front steps were painted a sleepy cream color. A large black ceramic planter sat at the base of the steps. It was decorated with the initials IR and DJ. The letters were fat and wide and painted white, like they had been drawn on by hand. Ike pulled the key out of his pocket and opened the door. They stepped into a small foyer that was decorated in understated blues and whites. An umbrella container that sat to their left next to a coat rack carved out of a large piece of what appeared to be driftwood. A lack of movement inside the house had allowed the pall to settle over the entire structure. The air had a stale, spoiled scent. A thin layer of dust covered most exposed surfaces. Death had laid its cold hands on this place and stilled its heart. The living room continued to understate the understated motif. A sectional couch dominated the space. A flat screen TV was mounted on the wall facing the couch. To their right, pictures detailed various moments of Isaiah and Derek's life together. Trips they had taken, parties they had attended, quiet, candid moments, pictures of the two of them holding Ariana as a newborn, the three of them wearing paper pirate hats at a restaurant, a black and white picture of Ariana blowing out on a dandelion, a picture of three of them and Ariana holding a poster with the word deed written on it in cartoonishly large letters. Derek and Isaiah were grinning from ear to ear. Ariana appeared nonplussed. The photos were a mosaic showing the evolution of their journey together. They look happy, Ike said. Yeah, they do, Buddy Lee said. He pointed at the picture of the comical deed. They must have paid the house off, Derek told me. One day he was going to have a house, not a trailer. Goddamn if he ain't do it, Buddy Lee said. He clapped his hands hard. A crack echoed through the house. Where should we start, Buddy Lee asked. I guess we should split up, maybe. I'll go check the bathroom, and I think Isaiah had an office in the back. I remember him saying they closed in the back of the porch. You want to check around there? Ike said. Yeah, that's cool. I'll just go through anything that has a drawer, pull on it, Buddy Lee said. All right, holler if you find something, Ike said. He walked through the living room and down the short hall. Buddy Lee started with an end table that sat next to the sectional. It was full of junk mail and odds and ends. He moved on to a coffee table with two drawers on each end. He thought that was a strange design choice, but what did he know? He used milk crates for furniture. A multitude of remotes were in one drawer. The other drawer held a few magazines. Buddy Lee closed the drawer and studied the wall of pictures. He hadn't noticed an accent table that was sitting under the pictures. There were two tiny book-shaped picture frames sitting on a table. He picked one of them up and felt his chest heave. It was a copy of the picture he kept in his wallet. The other frame showed a young black boy and a man that was much younger Ike. The boy was on Ike's shoulders. Buddy Lee put the frame back on the table. Next to this picture was a photo he hadn't seen in over 20 years. It was Christian and Derek. They were sitting on the steps of the trailer the three of them had shared before Buddy Lee got himself locked up the last time. Christine was as beautiful as a sunset. Auburn hair falling down the back of like waterfall. Big cornflower blue eyes. That dimple in her chin that driven him crazy all those years ago when they had first met. He'd asked her to dance at a bonfire and she said no. Not in a cruel or haughty way. Just a simple, succinct, I can't be bothered fashion. He'd gone and found a handful of wildflowers just inside the tree line. He returned to the log she and her friends had been sitting on and got down on one knee. Dance with me, just one dance, and I'll never bother you again for the rest of your life. Is that a promise? Scout's honor. You don't look like much of a scout. and you don't look like the prettiest one, and you look, oh, scratch, and you look like the prettiest woman on God's green earth. Come on, one dance. I won't even try to dip you. She had laughed at that, a full throaty laugh, as bright and sweet as summer itself. They danced, they had kissed, they had gone down the long dirt lane in his Camaro and found paradise under the harvest moon. For a few years it had been magic, but magic was just a sleight of hand, and eventually the magician's assistant had seen every trick. By the time he had done his second stint inside, Christine had seen enough. He didn't begrudge her moving on and marrying that rich prick. Hell, he would have divorced him too. That was understandable, but the way she erased Derek from her life was just wrong. He knew he wasn't much of a father, but what kind of mother did that to her own child? Child, a bunch. Buddy Lee removed the picture from the frame and put it in his back pocket. He moved on to the kitchen. Buddy Lee was overwhelmed by the sheer volume of equipment that was crammed into this space. The decor in here had an old school Americana vibe. Black and white checkered floors, stainless steel appliances, black cabinets with granite countertops. Buddy Lee figured those countertops had to be granite to hold all the cooking utensils and machinery Derek had acquired over the years. Buddy Lee didn't know what half of the shit did, but he knew his son had probably mastered all of it. Derek had loved to cook ever since he first seen his grandmother stirring cake batter. Buddy Lee's cousin, Sam, had been a hell of a cook too. Culinary skills ran in the Jenkins family. It had just leapfrogged over Buddy Lee and landed on Derek. Derek's affinity for cooking had never struck Buddy Lee as gay, per se. It was just something he was good at, even when they were, even when they argued, which wasn't often because if he was being honest, he didn't see Derek that much. He'd never thrown any shade at him for being a chef. Not that he deserved a medal for that. He said plenty of other shit that he regretted. It was just too bad it took Derek dying for him to realize. Buddy Lee went through the cabinets, checking sugar dishes and saucepans with tops. He wasn't surprised when he found some weed. A lot of people hid their stash in the kitchen. He robbed enough houses to say it wasn't an anomaly. There was nothing in the drawers except knives, forks, and spoons. Buddy Lee put one hand on his hip and rubbed his forehead with the other. What are we doing here? This was a waste of time. It wasn't like he was going to find a notebook with the girl's name, the name of a person who killed his son, and the address where he could find them. What he should do is go back and talk to the kid at the caterers, squeeze the name of the guy who had the party out of him like an apple caught in a vice. Buddy Lee placed his hand on his forehead. The ice maker made a horrific sound before it dropped a load down the chute into a holding container. Buddy Lee thought it sounded like maracas. He took a step towards it. There was a notepad on the fridge attached with a magnet. Buddy Lee grabbed it. There was a doodle on the first page of the notepad, a fairly sophisticated drawing of a pair of shoes, then an arrow, then what supposed was a piece of fruit followed by an exclamation point. The bottom of the page, there was a series of numbers, then a space, and then another set of numbers, then an exclamation point. Buddy Lee studied the drawings. A part of him thought it was just what it looked like, a doodle. Maybe Isaiah and Derek were joking around, and one of them scrawled an amateur comic strip on their message pad. But his gut told him it was something more. The exclamation point made it seem important. Buddy Lee fanned that pad against his hand. He tore the pages off and put them in his front pocket. He trusted his gut, but he didn't always listen to it. That's how he ended up taking 2 falls. He wasn't a genius, but he learned from his mistakes most of the time. Ike stood for a long time in the doorway of the first room he came to. This was Isaiah and Derek's bedroom. This is where they slept together, held each other through the night. Ike didn't get it. How could Isaiah feel the same way about Derek that Ike felt about Maya? Ike shook his head. If Isaiah were here, he would tell me there was nothing to get. Love is love. But Isaiah wasn't here. He was dead. Ike stepped into the room and started to tear it apart. He pulled out the drawers and the nightstands, come on now, and dumped them on the bed. They were filled with the usual hodgepodge of items that found their way into the nightstand: fingernail files, eye drops, bandages, lubes, and a huge collection of bar napkins. Ike picked up one. In the corner was the word Garland's, was written in cursive. Almost all the napkins were from Garland's. Ike balled up the napkins and tossed it in the trash. He turned and went to the closet. There was a collection of hats on the top shelf: baseball caps, fedoras, skull caps, and a tam o'shanter. I don't even know what that is. What is a tam o'shanter? Please tell me. The closet was jam-packed with shirts and blazers hanging in color-coordinated order. My best friend made me color-coordinate my closet. Ike smiled. Isaiah used to do the same thing with his sneakers as a kid. The smile faded. Ike walked out of the bedroom and headed toward Isaiah's office. The room was just as organized as the closet. A slim bookcase in the far left corner had all the editions arranged in alphabetical order by title. In the far right corner was a tall filing cabinet. In the center of the room was a clear, lucid desk. A computer was in the middle of the desk. A landline phone sat next to it like a relic in a museum. There was a composition notebook next to the phone. Ike flipped through it. There were notes written in Isaiah's precise handwriting. Most of it was gibberish to Ike. It was some sort of shorthand that only Isaiah could decipher. That last entry was only one sentence: "Does she know?" Next to it, Isaiah had drawn a frowny face. Ike stared at the page. What the hell did he mean? Who was she? Was she the girl from the party? Was she someone else, not connected to that girl at all? Ike put the notebook back on the desk. How did the police do this shit? He didn't know enough about Isaiah's life to make sense of anything. Ike pushed the button on the phone and pulled up the call log. He'd seen a detective do it in a movie once. He scrolled through the numbers without any firm idea what he was trying to find. He didn't know Isaiah's friends, so the numbers were just a collection of digits. No one had called since March 24th. That was the night it happened. As he scrolled, something jumped out at him. The day before, the boys were shot. One number called 8 times in a row. Ike pushed another button on the phone and checked the messages. A robotic voice announced there were 12 messages. Ike pressed play. The majority of the messages were fairly innocuous. He was sure that the cops had already done this, but it didn't hurt to hear it for himself. The last message was left the day before the shooting. A breathless voice rumbled out the speaker. "Hey, it's me. I changed my mind. I don't want to talk about it. I'm sorry. I'm scared. Bye." The machine cut itself off. Ike didn't recognize the voice, but he thought it sounded like the woman. She wasn't just scared. She sounded terrified. Ike checked the phone number. It had a local area code. I grabbed a pen and a scrap of paper off the desk and wrote the number down. As he was transcribing the number, he couldn't help thinking, what the hell had Derek gotten Isaiah into? Let's see. Fuck it. It's Thursday. We'll read one more chapter. Here we go. Chapter 13, last chapter. That we'll read tonight, not the last chapter, period. Chapter 13. Andy pulled a screwdriver out of his pocket. He jammed it between the jaw jab and the lock. Oscar stood behind him, shielding him from the street with his bulk. Not that he really needed any shielding. There was hardly anybody on the street. A few stumbling lost souls who weren't worrying about anything but their next drink or hit. They parked 3 blocks away just in case some civic-minded neighbor decided to copy down Andy's license. He gripped the doorknob and turned it as he forced a screwdriver into the jamb. To his surprise, the doorknob turned with almost no effort. Shit, I think it was open, Andy said. Huh? Well, let's get this over, I guess. Andy paused. Why was the door unlocked anyway? Had they stumbled on somebody robbing the place? He wasn't sure how you defined the irony, but he thought it would be damn close. Andy touched the small of his back. The butt of a .357 Colt Python rested against his waistband. He had gotten it from Grayson when they left the clubhouse. He didn't think they would need it, but if you stayed prepared, you didn't have to get prepared. That was one of the only things his piece of shit mother had said that actually made sense. Yeah, let's do it, Andy said. It didn't matter why the door was unlocked. It didn't matter what might be on the other side of that door. All that mattered was getting what Grayson asked for so they could be made full members. Andy pulled the door open and stepped inside the house. Buddy leaned against the sink. His chest was tight as virgin pussy. He tried to cough, but he couldn't seem to get enough air in his lungs. He flicked on the faucet. He cupped his hands and caught some water. He splashed his face, took a deep breath, and finally coughed up some phlegm. He spit it into the sink. The light greenish phlegm was steepled with red spots. Well, that ain't good, he murmured. The front door opened. Buddy Lee snapped his head up with the world around until he was facing the living room. 2 men stepped inside the house. One of them was tall, drink of water with a spindly frame that could use a few pounds. The other had bulk to spare. He could do 50 pounds to his buddy and still be as wide. They tiptoed into the room like a pair of skittish deer. Buddy Lee leaned back against the sink. He reached behind them and pulled the first thing his hand touched out of the basket. That happened to be a heavy, decorative jelly jar. He gripped it behind his back with his right hand. They hadn't seen him yet. He could try sliding out the kitchen and down the hall. Probably wouldn't work out. He could try it though. Of course, if he did, he wouldn't be able to ask them what the hell they were doing in his son's house. He didn't think they were Jehovah's Witnesses. Hey there, fellas, Buddy Lee said from the kitchen. The 2 men stopped in their tracks. Hey, Andy said. He let his right hand slip into his back pocket. What the hell you fellas doing? What y'all fellas doing in my son's house without knocking? Y'all friends of his? Andy and Oscar exchanged a look. Buddy Lee had seen that look before. They were deciding which one of them were going to tell a lie. Andy smiled. Yeah, we're friends of his. Y'all must work with him at the newspaper, Buddy Lee said. Andy moved his hands closer to the gun. Yeah, that's it. We all worked at the newspaper together, Andy said. Buddy Lee smiled back at Andy. You lying sack of shit, he thought. Andy saw the smile crawl across Buddy's face. He noticed it never reached his eyes. Shit, he thought. Right. The house went quiet. Buddy Lee could hear the ticking of the clock above the sink, the hum of the traffic on the street, the sighs and the groans of the house as it settled into a monolithic position for the foreseeable future. The ice maker rattled again. Andy reached for his gun. Buddy Lee hurled the jelly jar at his head and exploded against his right cheek. Buddy Lee was on the move as soon as he threw the jar. He slammed his whole body into Andy before Oscar even realized he was in the living room. Andy and Buddy crashed into the coffee table, despite their body weight being barely breaking the 250 barrier. The table collapsed under their bodies. Andy felt the gun biting into his skin just above the crack of his ass. He wanted to grab it, but the old man was trying his best to knock his teeth down his throat. I know that's right. Buddy Lee punched Andy as hard as he could on the right side of his face. The kid tried to block the punches, but no avail. When Andy raised his hand to protect his eyes and forehead, Buddy cracked him again in the chin. When he inverted the position of his hands, his cheekbones bore the brunt of Buddy's assault. The old man was as wiry as a spider monkey. Buddy Lee had suddenly felt like he was flying. Oscar grabbed him around the waist like he was a bag of laundry. The big man squeezed Buddy Lee so hard he thought his nuts were going to pop. Buddy Lee opened and closed his mouth like a trout bouncing around on the floor of a John boat. And as Andy got up to one knee, Buddy Lee kicked him as hard as he could in the face. The younger man fell back into the ruin of the coffee table. Buddy Lee tucked his head forward and then snapped it back. The sound of Oscar's nose breaking was music to his ears. The big man released him from his deadly embrace. Buddy Lee landed on his feet, then mule kicked. I know that's right, mule kicked. Then mule kicked Oscar in the right shin. Andy swung the coat butt first into the side of Buddy Lee's head. Stars exploded all around him as he dropped on all fours. He was vaguely aware his hand had landed on the razor-sharp remains of the table. Shards of glass sliced through his thick calluses and buried their way into his palms. His stomach convulsed, but the contents of his belly stayed put. Oscar fell against the door, clutching his shin. Andy put the barrel of the python against Buddy Lee's temple. Buddy felt that trickle of blood run down his face and wind over his 5 o'clock shadow. Andy's top lip was beginning to swell. His cheek was on fire. A cloudy film seemed to be covering his left eye. The old man had punched him in the face like he was kicking the winning field goal in the Super Bowl. Cut the cord on the TV and tie him up, Andy said. He spit a pinkish glob onto the floor. It was equal parts saliva and blood. Oscar grabbed a knife out of his pocket and limped over to the TV. He tied Buddy's hands behind his back. Buddy couldn't believe how fast Oscar couldn't believe how fast the old man moved. He'd been a blur coming out of the kitchen. It was like watching the Flash. I think you broke one of my teeth, old man, Andy said. He probed his right molar with his tongue. The tooth wiggled against the intruding tongue. That ain't nothing compared to what I'm gonna do when I get loose, Buddy Lee said. Andy laughed. He pressed the barrel into Buddy Lee's head. You about 2 seconds from getting a hole in your fucking head. But first, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions and you're gonna give me some answers, Andy said. Hey, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Fuck you, Buddy Lee said. Andy kicked him in the stomach. The few remaining wisps of air in his lungs reached his mouth with a whoosh. Buddy Lee pitched forward. His face landed in a pile of crushed glasses. A few slivers tried to find their way into his mouth. Andy grabbed him by his hair. He put his mouth close to Buddy Lee's ear. You miss your son? You're going to see him soon enough. But before that happens, you're going to beg for a bullet, he said. Andy kicked him again. This time, his lunch did make a break for it. Stomach acid burned up his throat, and the vomit raced out of his esophagus. It spilled over his lips like a waterfall. You better kill me, Buddy Lee gasped. Andy laughed. Oh, I better kill you, he said. He spoke in a high-pitched, nasally tone. Maybe we should ask him about the girl, Oscar offered. Andy stopped teetering. You know anything about the girl, old man? He asked. He should have thought of that before Oscar suggested it. He was getting caught up in the moment and forgetting the task at hand. You better kill me, or you gonna regret ever carling out your mama's cold, chewed up cunt. I know that's terrible. God dang. Buddy Lee said. Andy blinked rapidly a few times. My mama's cunt, huh? Say hi to your son for me, Andy said. He cocked the hammer on the coat and pointed at Buddy Lee's face. Buddy Lee felt like he was tumbling into the barrel, like it was a bottomless mine shaft. Andy pressed the barrel against his cheek. Buddy Lee closed his eyes. He hoped he would see Derek, but he wasn't sure. They were going to spend eternity in the same place. A deafening crash echoed from the back of the house. What the fuck is that? You got somebody in here with you, old man? Oscar, go check it out. Andy said. Oscar licked his bottom lip. I ain't bring a gun, he said. Tough titty. Now go check it out, Andy said. Oscar wiped the blood on his face and studied his hand. Blood had smeared across the palm like Sanskrit. Yeah, tough titty, all right, he said. The big man lumbered down the hall like Godzilla. Had the light been on in the hall when they first entered? Oscar couldn't remember. It was off now. He flicked his light switch on the wall and nothing happened. His breath came in quick, irregular gulps. His nose was beyond fucked up. He couldn't even fuss air through it. He descended into the shadows. Did you kill my son? Buddy Lee asked. The stars had finally retreated and his vision had cleared. Andy had moved the gun out of his face. Instead, it was hanging loosely by his leg. Shut up, Andy said. Who sent you, Buddy wheezed. He hadn't exerted himself like that in a long time. His heart felt sluggish in his chest. The back of his throat was so dry, he thought if he coughed now, gravel would pop out and clatter across the floor. Shut the fuck up, Andy said. Oscar came to the door on the left side of the hall that was partly ajar. It was narrower than the other three doors had already passed. This had been to the bathroom. Was someone hiding in the tub with a shotgun? Had he seen that in a movie once? The good guy had shot one of the bad guys when he was taking a piss. Oscar used 2 fingers and pushed the door open all the way. It was indeed a bathroom. A blue ambient lighting in the ceiling gave the room a ghostly glow. The blue light was built into the exhaust fan. The bathroom had a shower stall, a sink, and a pale blue toilet. Or was that the effect of the blue LED light? Oscar frowned. The top of the toilet tank was missing. That was a red flag. He heard the reservoir filling with water, like someone had just flushed it. Oscar backed into the hall. He heard glass crunching beneath his feet. He raised his head and squinted. There had once been a light fixture in the ceiling, one of those fancy pendant jobs. Now there was just a thin metal tube hanging down, like someone had smashed it. Oscar spun around just in time for Ike to shatter the top of the toilet tank over his head. You gonna wish you had killed me, boy, Buddy Lee had rasped. You keep talking that shit like you somebody I ought to be afraid of. You ain't nothing but an old drunk that needs to shut his fucking mouth. Yeah, I can smell it coming off you. Just like my dad, Andy said. Buddy Lee heard the bravado in his voice and uncertainty that was hiding underneath the surface. A minute after Oscar had ventured down the hall, the whole house shook. Something had hit the floor like a slab of granite. Andy took an unconscious step toward the hall with his gun raised. Buddy Lee was on his knees when the kid stepped toward the hallway. Quick as a wink, he dropped his ass and used both feet to kick the kid into the side of his right knee. He thought he heard a snapping sound. Andy screamed and fell backward and to the left. When he hit the ground, the big pistol jumped out of his hand like a gingerbread man making a break for it. Andy clutched at his knees for the briefest of seconds before realizing he lost his gun. He rolled onto his left side and stretched out his right hand for the coat. Ike came out the shadows like a spirit of nemesis in the flesh. He stomped on Andy's right hand, and Buddy Lee was positive he heard a crack that time. Andy screamed again as Ike picked him up off the ground by his shirt. Once he had him on his feet, Ike hit him with a ferocious uppercut. No, that's right. The younger man was lifted at least 3 inches off the ground. He landed in a heap under the wall-mounted television. Ike glared at him for a moment before picking up the coat and tucking it into his waistband. He went to Buddy Lee and retrieved his jackknife from his back pocket. Ike cut him loose, then helped him to his feet. Glad you decided to join the party, Buddy Lee said. When I heard the commotion, I figured I'd hang back a minute. Sounded more than one guy, so I tipped over to the dresser to get his attention. Forced them to split up. Besides, I figured you could handle yourself. No use in losing the element of surprise, Ike said. Well, I'm glad you had all this confidence in me, but let me tell you this. What was you gonna do if they had blown my goddamn head off? Buddy Lee asked. They didn't, so I don't have to find out, Ike said. Buddy Lee shook his head. He looked down at the crumpled form of the skinny kid. I told you you should have fucking killed me, Buddy Lee said. Did you really say that? Ike asked. But Lee nodded. I meant it too. I know that shit's right. He told him, he said, you should kill me. That's when I get up, it's gonna be on and cracking. All right, this is a fun book. So I look forward to reading. I don't even know. We're on chapter 14 now. Some more next week. Family, I hope you have a fantabulous weekend. And I hope you do all the fun things that I would like to do. Hope to see you back here Tuesday as we wrap up. We should, I don't know if it's a wrap up, but we'll be definitely discussing the mental generational blessings, which will be exciting for me. But that'll be the last one because we've covered the emotional, we covered the physical, spiritual. So the only one left is the mental. So I hope you can join us here Tuesday, where we find out what our mental generational blessings are. And if you can't make it Tuesday, I hope to see you back here next Thursday as we continue reading Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. So again, I thank you for your support, your time, and can't wait to see you next time. Peace, family.